we're back to the postage stamp consensus. It doesn't just operate as a perception download. It operates as a self-defense mechanism in the sense that people won't go into areas outside of the download for information. So all they get is confirmation of the download. That's what you get from the mainstream media. They're not going to give you information outside of the download perception of reality. They're just going to keep confirming it, because most of the journalists who are doing it are in that same perception prison as everyone else. And so what you have is that the great majority of people go through an entire lifetime just having this sense of normal being constantly confirmed. And what has happened with the alternative media, we're making inroads into that. And I know from my own experience, so will you, that there are people that actually suddenly have a peek over here and say, hold on a minute, this version of that makes more sense than that does. And they start to question like they didn't before. There are many positive things happening. But if people only just looked, why do I believe this? Trace it back to source. Where does it come from? And it will come from a teacher. It will come from, this is the other great thing, is that it's not only that people going out into the institutions are confirming to each other that this downloaded normal is how things are. Through peer pressure, people outside the institutions, in the general population, are also confirming to each other that the download of normal is how things are, and policing their own prison. You know, people laugh at sheep because they follow the one in front and get into line when the sheepdog barks because of fear. We've out-sheeped the sheep. We don't need a sheepdog. We keep each other in line. And
ourselves as well.
Yes, by doing that, yes. It's like, this is how I've described it over, a number of times over the years. It's like prisoners sitting in a cell and someone cracks the code to the cell door, and as he goes to run out, the other prisoners grab him back. And if we would only set each other free to allow the free flow of opinion, even though we might not agree with it, then we'd start to break down this prison perception that people think is free thought. This is the thing. You know, people say, what is your opinion? This is one of the, what's your opinion? Well, my opinion is, so hold on a second, before we go any further, where does your opinion come from? And you'll trace it back, and it comes from some external source, which they're just repeating.
Now, why is the reason that the people are actually doing it? Is it their laziness or fear, or does it offer them some comfort? Why would they do it?
Well,
because some of them subconsciously know that something is wrong.
Yeah, actually, that before we go any further, that is a very important point. What I'm finding as I'm traveling the world is that there is an increasingly vast number of people who may not yet be looking at this information in any detail, but they've come to this point where they have an unease about the world. They don't like the way it's going, they feel uneasy about it, and that is teasing open their minds to get another version of actually what's going on, because the version they're being given makes no sense. But I remember I did an interview on a BBC current affairs program, the only ever time they've ever asked me on. It's a few months ago now. And there was a former well-known British politician across from me. And he was asked by the presenter about what he thought of conspiracy theories. And he said the most ludicrous thing. He said, well, I think that, you know, it's intellectual laziness. So I was on him immediately. Because the ultimate intellectual laziness is not to question authority, it's to accept authority's versions of things without question. That's intellectual laziness. So there is some laziness in it.
So he just turned it around.
Yeah, but I turned it back. There is some laziness in it for sure. Although I can't be bothered, mate. I can't be bothered about it. And it's like, ignorance is bliss, but only for a while. You know, you can put your head in the sand and ignore what's going on. I don't want to talk about it, change the subject, but your backside is still in the air. Yeah. and there's a hurricane still coming, right? Or there's a tornado still coming. Now, whether you put your head in the sand to be oblivious that a tornado's coming or not, the tornado's still coming. Now, if you lift your head up, turn and face it, you can take avoiding action. But for sure, if you don't, your backside's going to be spinning in the air very shortly. And so ignorance is bliss, but only for a while. And I do think we're reaching the point where this agenda for human control is starting to become more visible to people, that more people are lifting their heads out of the sand. There's no question that, not the majority yet, of course, but more are doing that, which is very encouraging. But there is this whole process as well that people really, and I've met many people like this, they know that something's not right, but they really don't want to face what's not right because it's just too much for them. First of all, there is a point, which I was saying years ago, there's going to come a point where the hidden becomes the seen, or at least some of it. Because if you are manipulating covertly to change human society in a certain way, then there comes a point where if you're going to do that, that society has to start to change, to reflect what you want. So they've reached the point now where the hidden is increasingly becoming the seen, as with more and more surveillance, more and more control, more and more imposition, political correctness, censoring the most basic things that people are supposed to be allowed to say. We're seeing Facebook and Google more and more blatantly censoring information, and of course, what's happening in the Middle East and with terrorism, people. So much of what has been covert before is now in the scene and has to be. Otherwise, they can't change society. So there's that level of it, but there's also another level of it, and that is they are absolutely aware that there will come a point, and it's starting, when the way they are changing society in the realm of the scene is so blatantly going in a certain direction that it's going to get lots of people looking up and saying, what's going on, what's going on? And so they're trying to get it through as quick as possible. And this is what they want. They want a vicious police military state, because global state, because they want the police and the military to be expressive.
I grew up in one.
Yeah.
See? Most of the people here, we grew up in one, we know.
Yeah.
That's why, for example, the Central European countries, they don't want the immigrants.
Yeah.
We've been there. We don't really want the society which's been built up by these neo-Marxists in the West. We lived it. And trust me, it's awful. We know it.
Oh yeah.
We've been there. So that's why we are really trying to deflect it.
Yeah.
We don't want it.